कुमार स्वामी नायक है गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की
In the news tonight, student injuries worry compensation commission. PM pleased with rehabilitation progress. And more Fijians moving to urban centers.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulawanaka, Fiji. 118 applications have been received by the Accident Compensation Commission of Fiji on behalf of students involved in serious accidents. ACCF Chief Executive Parvez Akbar says some of these are serious cases that need to be addressed.
The Commission is recording an increasing number of incidents in schools.
In schools, the injuries vary from fractured jaw, for example, while playing sports, loss of teeth during scuffles and so on. We do also have examples of where kids have poked each other in the eye with pencils and so on.
Parvez says one of the challenges they face when compensating people is informal adoptions.
So there are a number of kids raised by different family members, and so when there is a serious injury or if there's a death of that child, the person who's informally adopting that child may not have paperwork to establish that relationship.
Fijians expressed mixed feelings about teachers taking more responsibility of students in schools.
So when parents do send them to schools, they are giving them their faith and trust that teachers are going to do their job in the manner in which parents do at home as well.
Teachers in school are already taking responsibilities and already doing their part in school.
I think teachers should keep a good eye on children, make sure they're learning, and also make sure they have a good, safe environment.
The Accident Compensation Commission says there were around 20 informal adoption applications in 2020, and these were difficult to process. Dipesh Kumar, FBC News.
The unavailability of data on migration, including a reluctance to share information between ministries and external partners, is a challenge. To overcome this, the first ever migration profile report for Fiji has been launched today. Kritika Kumar was at the launch and joins us live now. Kritika, what are some of the major findings of the survey?
Edwin, Fiji is a relatively high mobility country compared to other Pacific Island countries. The Fiji Bureau of Statistics says the report has been developed to better understand the migration dynamics. 95% of Fijians who moved overseas are now residing in Australia, New Zealand, USA and Canada. The report also reveals that locally, 28% of the population were living outside their province of birth in 2017. These were more likely to be females. The report reveals that over half of Fiji's population are now living in urban areas due to rural to urban migration.
Fiji's population more than tripled between 1950 and 2017, from 289,000 to 884,887.
The trend in migration also shows that the number of people leaving Fiji has outnumbered immigrants settling here.
The impacts of immigration in terms of remittances have been generally positive. More Fijians are sending money home to assist their families.
The Chief of Mission for International Organization for Immigration says Fiji had the second highest number of immigrants among the Pacific Island countries in 2015.
Immigrants are about 25% the size of Fiji's resident population, with over 200,000 people born in Fiji living abroad, according to the estimates.
Immigrants make up around 2% of the population, with 14,000 foreign citizens having made Fiji their home in 2019. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
A primary school on Yandua Island will be relocated as a precaution following a massive landslide during TC Ana last month. 2 classrooms were damaged at the Yandua Island Primary School in 2017, in a 2017 landslide, with fears of a recurrence if there is another prolonged heavy rain. Elona Turangai View has more.
For decades, Yandua Island Primary School has been vulnerable to landslides. Tropical cyclone Anna renewed this fear following another landslide, prompting the school management to plead for relocation.
We fear about the place where the school currently sits. Whenever there is rainfall, the head teacher fears there will be a landslide because of the lives of our students.
Yesterday, a team from the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources was on the island to help identify a suitable piece of land to move the school to.
We have been wanting to relocate the school for a long time now, and we are happy with the new site identified.
Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama visited the school yesterday to see firsthand the damage sustained by the school during Tropical Cyclone Yasa, and he also had an opportunity to speak to the students.
We want to put the school away from the path of strong winds, waves and heavy rain. We have people here who are working to get us a good spot to move the school to.
3 classrooms were totally destroyed by Tropical Cyclone Yasa, along with the head teacher's quarters. Eleanor Turangevio, FBC News.
The government's priority is to ensure that all TCS-affected schools are fixed so education can continue without any further hindrance, says Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama. The head of government has completed a 4-day visit to Vanuatu, where he toured TCS-affected schools to assess rehabilitation. Eleanor Turangeview again.
Repairing damaged schools nationwide so they can open for classes was government's main concern after Tropical Cyclone Yasa hit in December. This week, Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama got to assess the repair works done in schools in Dakaunrobe, Bua and Maduata.
We want them to start school when the schools open. Their education is important to us.
Speaking at Yandua Island yesterday, Bainimarama says the COVID-19 pandemic, Category 5 Tropical Cyclone Yasa and Category 2 Tropical Cyclone Anna have affected children's education this year.
Teachers have been telling us about the challenges they are facing in classes as students' learning have been affected by these things.
The Prime Minister is reminding parents that they also have a role to play.
We have our duties as parents to bring them up and encourage them in their education. We want to thank the government for always putting the education of our children at the forefront of their development policies.
The Prime Minister is happy with the rehabilitation work completed so far, as most schools have gone back to using their classrooms after starting the new school year in tents. Eleanor Turangeview, FBC News.
The Royal British Legion has so far recorded 7 reports of bogus British Army recruiters. Manager Medawalisi Ndewalangilangi says they are receiving reports from potential candidates that these people were promised jobs with the British Army in return for thousands of dollars. Ndewalangilangi says they also received calls from villages where some agents handed out forms for candidates to fill. She says this is unlawful as recruitment is still closed.
There are a lot of scammers going around. There's a lot of people going around, can be using the Royal British Legion's name or even using my name to state that the recruitment is still open. I can confirm that today that recruitment is still closed. Be aware of those scammers, be aware of those frauds, and don't take any information anyhow. But if you need information, if you need to know the truth, you can contact us and we'll advise you more accordingly.
Up ahead, defense to apply for judge's recusal. And vulnerable community fears discrimination.
मैं टोटली दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Welcome back. The University of the South Pacific now says it will not engage publicly in its recruitment processes or policies in respect to individual contracts. This is despite Acting Deputy Vice Chancellor Chito Vanualailai speaking publicly about the appointment of Director for Center for Flexible Learning, Dr. Rajni Chand, on Tuesday. The acting Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of the South Pacific, Dr. Julio Paunga, has advised the faculty that recruitment policies are being followed at USP. This follows reports of the recruitment and appointment of Dr. Chan to the position of Director for Flexible Learning. Dr. Paunga says there has been a lot of media interest lately in the university's recruitment policies and has advised that due processes of recruitment and selection have been complied with. Dr. Paunga stresses no public statements will be made in respect to any individual staff contract which is covered under their obligation of confidentiality. The defense lawyer in an alleged human trafficking case will make an application for the High Court judge currently presiding over the case to recuse himself following the amendment to the Criminal Procedure Act 2009 to abolish the assessor system. High Court judges will now also become assessors of facts. Pranita Prakash reports.
The lawyer representing Setha Sanjana Ram, who faces 35 counts of trafficking, raised the matter in the High Court today. He stated that prior to the change in the Act, the assessors had access to information but not disclosures. However, in this matter, the presiding judge has the access to both information and disclosures. He said to ensure a fair trial, he will make an application for the judge to recuse himself. Setha Sanjana Ram and her sister Geeta Anjana Chandar allegedly facilitated the travel of 17 Fijians who were exploited and became victims of human trafficking in New Zealand between April and September 2014. It is alleged the two sisters obtained more than $52,000 from the 17 complainants by deception. The state today served amended information and disclosures to the defense counsels. The lawyer for another defendant, Geeta Chandar, asked the court for time to go through the amended documents. He also informed the court that his client is in Australia and not planning to come for the trial, which begins in June. The matter has been adjourned to the 10th of March for plea. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
The International Lesbian Gay Association says 70% of their community are afraid to come out for fear of discrimination and victimization. ILGA Oceania is hosting a symposium to find solutions to issues faced by members of their community. Koroi Tandulala reports Fiji is the first country in the Pacific to decriminalize homosexuality.
ILGA Oceania says Fiji is taking the lead in the Pacific in championing their rights and has been recognized for its work.
We have been able to work across the Pacific with various other queer leaders in terms of, how they can also work with Fiji in terms of decriminalizing certain laws that still exist which do oppress people of our own community.
The Pacific nation of brothers and sisters who are joining us today are looking to Fiji to advise on how they can improve in those areas.
The Women's Subcommittee Chair says while they have achieved some of their goals in the fight for equality, they're still facing some challenges such as fear of discrimination.
We are marginalized. We are already having to deal with gender norms and patriarchy. That these are also some of the challenges that we are experiencing that are also adding other dimensions of struggles and challenges.
The development of a referral pathway is currently underway to ensure the members of this community receive certain services. The National Action Plan on Violence Against Women will also include the members of the LGBTQI community, ensuring their protection from violence. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
A man alleged to have raped a 15-year-old student in Nasinu last year pleaded not guilty in the Suva High Court today. The man is charged with 2 counts of rape. It's alleged that the 15-year-old student skipped school in September to join a drinking party with the accused. The man was released on strict bail conditions today, and the matter has been adjourned to April 16th. The Vinaka Employment Agency has seen a massive increase in the number of nurses applying to work in Dubai. Director Registrar Professor Dr. Naimbuka Nayadakalo says in order to help local nurses, they've introduced tests which can help become qualified to work in Abu Dhabi. Sanya Nimboila reports.
Nurses wanting to work in Dubai can now sit health assessment exams in Fiji and become registered nurses in Abu Dhabi.
Since last year November, our nurses are now sitting for their registration exams in Fiji.
Neha Natasha Singh is the first Fijian nurse to pass the test and will be off to work in the United Arab Emirates.
Already in UAE, they were the first ones to sit for the exam and pass there. So I
felt really happy and excited. I was quite nervous when I received the phone call when Professor Dr. Nembuka called me to give me my results.
Health Minister Dr. Iferemi Wangenembeti says the ministry will continue to support nurses searching for greener pastures and will work with the nursing schools to ensure the gaps are quickly filled.
And support our nurses who intend to go to other places to further their career, to look at other opportunities. It also gives opportunities for those in nurse training to come through and actually backfill those positions that they left.
Dr. Wangenembete says most of these nurses come back to Fiji after their contract and help the health sector. There are over 3,000 nurses in our health system, and this does not include nurses in private organizations around the country. Sainia Nimboila, FBC News.
And now for Friday Night Business with Whitney.
Thanks, Edwin. Coming up in business tonight, bad year for real estate sector. And Wunderpark to open more outlets. Stay with us.
Bula, ang gono ilutoka tutalita ka ng Bula FM berarti nambang 2 en seri.
Bula FM nambang 2 en seri.
The COVID-19 pandemic has negatively impacted financial and insurance activities in the construction, manufacturing and real estate sectors. Minister for Trade and Tourism Fayaz Koya, speaking during the 3rd National Real Estate Conference for Agents and Salespersons, says the pandemic has caused a decline in disposable income and tax collection, higher unemployment and lower foreign demand for exports. Koya adds, according to the Reserve Bank's economic review for last month, a new lending of commercial banks for investment purposes declined by 24.9% last year. He says this is driven by lower lending to the real estate, building and construction sectors. Sharon from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest from the money market.
Good evening. In the latest money market news, the Aussie and Kiwi dollars were aiming for a steady end to a choppy week today. Stats coming out of Australia showed their household spending rose at a slower than expected pace in January. Preliminary retail sales advanced 0.6% from December, but came in below the median estimate of a 2% gain. Meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand is expected to keep interest rates at 0.25% in its first monetary policy decision of 2021 next week. However, the central bank may revise upward its forecast for growth, employment and inflation and add a forward guidance for the official cash rate. Elsewhere, the US dollar maintained its biggest loss in 10 days after disappointing labor market data lowered the prospect for the country's speedy recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's all from your HFC Bank for this week. Vinaka.
Here are the local exchange rates that set early this morning. Once again, as the Fiji dollar rose against the US greenback and the Chinese yuan, it slipped against the currencies of the Australian and New Zealand dollars. It also gained on the PNG kina, but lost ground against the euro and the yen. The commodities market was mixed. Oil prices were down $2 at $59 a barrel. Gold dropped to close at $1,767 per ounce, and silver closed down at $26.69 an ounce. In growing Fiji tonight, Wunderpark has opened its 4th pork shop in Raki. Owner Simon Cole says this is to meet the demand for consumers around the country. Cole says they will also soon sell their products at Costulas to cater for the Suva area. Wunderpark has a brand new butchery facility at the farm in Lautoka, a pork shop at Centrepoint in Nasinu, and the Whistling Pig in Nosori. And that's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Thank you and good evening. Ahead in sports, RKS in rebuilding phase. And Dami aim for better finish in Super Series. This and more coming up.
Hi, I'm Ini from Raki. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Ratu Kondabulevu School faces a challenging task in defending the Coca-Cola Games Boys Division title this year. The school is in a rebuilding phase, trying to identify and mold potential athletes for their title defense, given that most key athletes have left the school. Tale Materkula reports.
RKS is starting from scratch because some athletes have finished their final year and others have moved to other schools.
This year has been very challenging for us, given the impacts of the pandemic and the last two cyclones. We worked hard to get players' fitness up to par, and on that note, some of our key players, including Colinio Rondrundu and Jacob Wanganibalu, left, so that's a loss for us.
This is a worry for the school as they are up for tough competition from other schools in the zone meet and Fiji finals. However, they remain optimistic.
Although it will be tough, we have seen some promising athletes today. We will train and guide them in the remaining weeks to ensure they will reach their full potential.
An encouraging factor is the potential shown by junior athletes, which will pay off in the long run.
Our junior athletes perform very well. They showed potential from our mini meets and again today, so they should maintain that in the zone and hopefully go a step further in the Fiji finals.
Chosen athletes from the inter-house will undergo another round of trials and rigorous training in preparation for the Tailevu zone. Tale Materkula, FBC Sports.
Lomeri Secondary School's Senibalati Tuinambewa had given up on his dreams after quitting school a year ago. But with the help of his coach Joshua Tawake and guardians, the 17-year-old is now a gold medal prospect for the upcoming Fiji finals. Caroline Tavi with this report.
The Nambitu Tailevu teenager never thought he'd come this far after being away from school for almost a year.
2019, I thought it's the end of the world for me because I come from one of the big schools. I almost went out of school, no more schooling again, and they've motivated me for me to go back to school. So yeah, I've changed my mind, made that turning point.
Tuinambewa is putting in the hard yards to ensure he reaches the Coke Games.
I had to work hard here before I went to the Coca-Cola Games. It's not easy. We all know we are all competitors here. They are not easy competitors. They train hard, and also for me. And yeah, I'm very positive, so I can do well in the tracks.
He will be among 30 Lomeri Secondary School athletes taking part in the Suva Zone 2 competition next month.
Everyone knows that Lomeri is known for the long distance events, but we can't say anything right now. I know all schools are preparing for the zone and also the Fiji finals, and all the training programs is everywhere. And
Lomeri will compete against big names in secondary schools athletics, including Suva Grammar School, Maris Brothers High School, at Suva's ANZ Stadium on March 17th. Carlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
Currently fifth on the Super 7 Series table, the Army Sevens team will be aiming to jump a few spots at the completion of the Nandi leg tomorrow. Fiji Sevens players Melin Deranalangi and Alessio Nanduba have been instrumental for the side in its pool matches at Prince Charles Park today. Felipe Naikaso has more.
After only reaching the Cup quarterfinals during the first leg in Singatoka, this Army side is determined to up their game.
Yeah, tomorrow will be a tough one because we'll be the top 8. We'll be crunching on the top 4 and then the top 2.
While the side has been in great form during day one of the tournament, there's still a number of areas the Army coaching panel will be working on, with discipline being on top. The series has also been praised as it's a way that other players are able to showcase their skills and talents.
Fiji Sevens boys, they are playing to their various club. It's take us in our fitness level, and it's very competitive.
Meanwhile, top of the table Police Blue are taking its game as it comes, as they aim to make it back-to-back cup wins.
Series 1 is over, that's history. Uprising last week, that's history. Today, tomorrow, that's what all team are in this tournament are aiming for. But Police Blue will take and Police White will take a game each time.
The Super 7 series continues tomorrow with games kicking off from 9 a.m. Felipe Naikaso, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Football Association's Pele Garments Champion versus Champion series is currently underway at ANZ Stadium. The winner of the National Football League, Suva, is taking on current CBC holders Lambasa. And while the capital side will be chasing their first CBC title, they also carry the hopes of their division. Caroline Itavi reports.
The pressure is now on the Babs Khan coach side, who will be representing the southern teams.
No team from the south has ever won a champion versus champion title. And this year, Suva is in for a challenge. So, looking at it, Suva is probably representing the whole of South in the quest to bring this title to the Southern Division.
Suva will be fielding a mix of new and old players in its matchday squad with the likes of Meryl Nand, Vilitati Kautonga, Ivan Kumar and Waisaki Navuningasau. The return of players like Navuningasau has been a timely one for the Whites after they lost a couple of their players in the preseason transfer window.
Weiss has been our seasonal player. He has played for Suva all this year. Only last year he decided to go to Rewa. Definitely his presence will boost our team. Weiss has always been a Suva boy, so he'll be back now and will be good for us.
The second leg of the CVC will commence on Sunday at 3 p.m. at ANZ Stadium in Suva. Caroline Itavi, FBC Sports.
Three-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka claimed an impressive victory over Serena Williams to reach the Australian Open final. Osaka withstood early pressure from Williams to claim the win and will now face Jennifer Brady in Saturday's final after the American beat Karolina Muchova in the other semi-final. With the Blues' Super Rugby situation a lot more straightforward, they are back in training and will have one last pre-season hit-out this weekend in Hamilton. The drop down to level 2 COVID restrictions in Auckland coming at exactly the right time. In play of the day, Josh Maz's dream has become reality as he marked his full debut with a brace to help Fulham boost their English Premier League survival hopes with a deserved 2-0 win at Everton. The 22-year-old capped a superb debut with a second, tapping in after Reed's shot had hit the woodwork. That's it from Sports Tonight. In new media, Facebook news goes dark in Australia. Find out more after the break.
Mulai here in Tavwa, we love Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Welcome back. Australians woke to empty news feeds on their Facebook pages on Thursday after the social media giant blocked all media content in a surprise and dramatic escalation of a dispute with the government over paying for content. In Fijian Pulse tonight, we ask, what do you think of the Fijiana having 4 teams in the Super 7 series?
I would suggest that Fijiana team is a good and interesting for ladies. I would suggest that it should be more teams created so that more ladies can take part.
I think it's a good idea to have the Fijiana team because it's a good exposure for the country.
And about Fijiana Sevens having 4 teams, it's very good because as more women are engaging in sports and there's equality between men and women in our country.
I think it's a good thing for the country as more women are exposed into sports. Yeah?
The current weather trend is forecast to continue with partly cloudy skies and scattered showers throughout the weekend. In the west today it was clear skies and sunshine. From Pacific Harbour to Suva, scattered cloud and generally fine conditions. And in the north, a generally fine day with a few brief showers. At sea, 10 to 20 knot easterly winds are generating moderate to rough swells. Turning to the tides, the next high tide is at 33 minutes after midnight, followed by low tide at 6:30 a.m. Sunrise is at 6:01. Saturday will be much like today with a slim chance of light showers along the eastern shores. The outlook for Sunday, the good weather continues. And recapping our main stories, student injuries, worry compensation commission, Prime Minister pleased with rehabilitation progress, and more Fijians moving to urban centres. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we are asking, is Roy Krishna the best football player to ever come out of Fiji? Visit our FBC News website to answer. And on to our shot of the day. This was captured from Sofitel Resort overlooking the ocean by Oswald Chamber. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. That's your news for this evening. I'll see you again next week. Until then, stay safe. Podemanda.
Hi, I'm Asalika and I'm from Lotoka and I love Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.